Hello, OH Anderson students and families. This is Miss Prather, and I'm the principal of OH Anderson Elementary School. I'm so excited today to share with you our plans for the 2020-21 school year. My commitments to all of you, my number one commitment is to ensure the health and safety of all students and staff, and number two, to maximize learning for all students this year. During this school year, we're planning on using three models. One model is in-person learning, which is traditional school like you've seen in the past. Second model is a hybrid, which is a combination of in-person learning and distance learning. And the third model is distance learning 2.0. And we're looking at a big change from what we've learned in the spring to improve the work we've done in that distance learning model. We are planning to see possibly all three models during the school year, and that's why we're planning to make sure that we have a smooth pivot between all models. In the next couple weeks, you'll get more information about our plans for the new year. Our planning this summer has been with teachers, with administrative staff, with other principals around the state, and we are planning for the three different learning models. We are using information from the Minnesota Department of Education, Minnesota Department of Health, from Governor Walz's executive order on safe learning, and from a lot of feedback that we received both back this last spring and during the summer from parents and students and teachers. And it was great because all of the feedback aligned on what are some of the changes we need to do to make sure that we have strong learning for our students in whatever model we see. Again, these are the three models that we'll be looking at and that we're planning for. Based on our county metrics, and multiple metrics will determine which model that we are in. We've really been thoughtful on our plans to make sure that that transition or that pivot between models is very easily done and clear for kids and for families. And I want everyone to know that you always as a family may request distance learning 2.0 if you don't want to participate in either that hybrid or in-person learning. Also, that distance learning 2.0 will be available for students who might need to quarantine during this time so we continue their learning. Now, as I said, my priority is safety, and there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing differently, and school's going to look a little different to make sure that we're keeping people safe. The first thing, our masks and face coverings are expected for all people in our school and on buses as well. We'll have increased cleaning, and that's all based on MDH cleaning and sanitizing protocols. We will have symptom screening. So we're going to ask families to have daily health screenings. And if kids have any symptoms of COVID-19, we'll ask them to stay home with that as well. And we'll have new health office configurations, making sure that everyone's safe at school, and an isolation room if anyone does have symptoms of COVID-19. You'll notice too some differences in the way our school looks. We have reconfigured the way that classrooms look to make sure we have social distancing for our kids. We have increased our use of outdoor space, and we are so lucky at OH Anderson to have so many beautiful green spaces, our nature trail, to utilize those as learning spaces. You'll see social distancing stickers and dots and arrows to help with traffic flows. You'll see signage around to make sure that kids are practicing good hygiene of hand washing, of covering coughs, and other preventative pieces. You'll see plexiglass in part of our schools to make sure that we have barriers as well. You'll see a ton of increased hand washing and hand hygiene sanitizing. There'll be a lot of that going on during the day. Students will be staying in their homeroom cohorts for the day. So they'll be having lunch there, recess there, and learning in that cohort. So there's not that mixing of students. We're not going to have large gatherings in person, but we'll do that virtually. So our Zephyr time will be a virtual Zephyr time that we have. We'll limit visitors, and we'll have new entrances and exits so that we're making sure that we are keeping kids as much as we can apart and utilizing all of the resources we have at OH Anderson. As far as materials and supplies, we're going to be really looking at our class list and our supply list and revising that. So students will be using individual supplies. Every student will have a Chromebook, so then they won't be contaminated and need to be cleaned in between. The backpacks are where materials are going to stay, not in desks or lockers for that. And again, like I said, new supply lists will be coming in August. The buses are going to look different. In the hybrid model, we will operate at 50% capacity of the buses. So there'll be less students on the buses. They'll be staggered. Buses will be cleaned before and after each route. Masks will be worn by drivers and students. And then there'll be new practices, both for drop-off and pickup, because I'm expected more people to be doing that, and for bikers and riders. So look for more information to make sure that we're safe when we're doing that as well. Lunch and breakfast are going to look different. Again, there'll be prepackaged meals that will be delivered to classrooms. Kids will eat in their classrooms. The staff that's in there supervising will be wearing masks. Recess will be in cohorts. So for instance, kids might be playing only at the Gaga pit, or only at the softball field, or only on the playground, so that they aren't mixing with cohorts. And again, when we are distance learning, we will be providing meals for kids that need that as well. Here's a look into a classroom. I have set up a few model classrooms so you can see what it looks like. In the top corner, you can see the smart board, and on the left, there's a music stand with a Chromebook. And that will be able to tape the mini lessons for kids that are distance learning, that they can see the teaching piece that are happening, so they kind of get a front row seat in the classroom. In the middle picture, you'll see the classroom and 6 feet social distancing for kids. We did remove extra furniture to make sure that we could enable for that 6 feet social distancing. The map on the top right are our entrances and exits. We're going to be using 5 entrances and exits. Each classroom will have one designated for them, so that we're minimizing kids going through the same doors, and also minimizing time that kids are in the hallway. Our lunch recess plan, again, they stay in cohorts, and they would use different areas of our green space. In Mahtomedi, we are dedicated to educational excellence. So no matter which model we're in, you're going to have strong education. We're going to have 5 days a week of continuous learning, consistent content expectations using our state standards. We are going to be focusing on relationships, and relationships with teachers, with classmates, and making sure that kids have strong social emotional growth, engagement, and connections. We will have strong structures that will support you with schedules and other structures to help support the process. And then there'll be opportunities for kids in all of these scenarios for reflection, exploration, and having their student agency or their ownership of their own learning as well. Now I'm going to go into a little detail about each one of the models. So in-person modeling, the in-person model will be the same at Wildwood and OH Anderson. School would be from 7:45 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. It would be 5 days a week of continuous learning, and all kids would be attending. We would have all the same health and safety measures, so that lunch in the classroom, recess in cohort, staggered entry and exit of the building, no large gatherings, masks, social distancing, hygiene practices, cleaning, all of that good stuff will be happening in person. And childcare would be after school from 2:15 to 5:30. Now, the hybrid model is a little bit different. It's part face-to-face and part distance learning. So the school day would be shortened. It would be 7:45 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. The weekly schedule would be 5 days of continuous learning. So all elementary kids would be in person 4 of the days and would be learning from a distance 1 of the day. We call this our 80-20 model. So the way that it looks like is, if we have a classroom, and we have a classroom, let's just say of 22, 24 kids, 80% of the kids would be in person, and 20% would be learning from a distance. So basically, every student would get a day of the week that they'd be learning from distance. So if my family, and that'd be Wildwood and OH Anderson students, are learning from a distance on Thursdays, I would come to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Thursday I'd access my mini lessons via that Chromebook that you saw in a previous slide, so they can see live mini lessons or recorded if they wish. Now, the day is shortened for a couple reasons, and one of the reasons is for specialists to be after school. So that would be during that distance learning format. So anytime from 1:15 in the evening, you have flexibility as a family to do your specialist classes. And that allows for some of the safety measures that there were concerns with music and FIAD with that piece as well. And it also allows for some flexibility as well, and for some time for teachers to be planning at the end of the day with their prep. And during that hybrid learning model, we want to make sure that it's strong for kids. And so you'll see kids using Google Classroom to access all of their materials. They'll be part of Google Meet, so they can see that daily instruction and receive feedback as well during that model. And then our last one is called Distance Learning 2.0. And as I said, we learned a lot from teachers, from parents, from students about how to improve what we're doing. So that's why we're calling it Distance Learning 2.0. There'll be a daily schedule, but it'll be flexible from 8 to 1:30 a day. And then it'll be 5 days a week for distance learning. Again, we will be using Google Classroom, and what you'll see is continuous learning every day from your teachers with mini lessons, a regular schedule, face-to-face or recorded lessons to provide flexibility, online small group instruction, and independent practice and feedback. So some of you guys might be wondering, what are these class sizes? And one of the things that I am so fortunate in Mahtomedi is we were able to lower our class sizes to be able to have a fluid model that goes between all of these scenarios. So we added a classroom in grades 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so that gets our class sizes down to that 22 to 24 range. So if we're in person, 100% of the kids are back at school. That's about 22 to 24 in your homeroom. Everyone's back in person learning. If we're in the hybrid scenario, 80% of the class is in-person learning and 20 is distance learning. So what that would mean in a homeroom of 22 to 24 kids, there'd be about 17 or 18 kids in class and about 5 or 6 learning from home 1 day a week. And then in distance learning, again, we have that same homeroom class of 22 to 24 kids, but they'd all be learning from a distance. So this enables the same class to be with the same teacher and the same peers in every model here. Looking a little bit at schedules, an in-person day, as I said, is a full school day, and you can see a schedule there. It looks just like our school days in the past with morning meetings, announcements, literacy blocks, math blocks, science and social studies blocks, specials, lunch, recess, and win times throughout the schedule. So it's a packed day for our in-person learning. Our hybrid, as I said, is a shortened schedule. So you'll see in that schedule, again, we have morning meeting, we have announcements, we have mini lessons for reading, math, science, social studies, and we have win time for what I need to provide those interventions in an ongoing basis. The change is everyone's specialists will be distance learning at the after school, anytime from 1:15 until bedtime, that you can do that as well. So it's a little bit of a different schedule. And then distance learning 2.0, we're looking at a day about 8 to 1:30. It'll be flexible for families, so you can either see things live or you can have the recorded lessons to look at. And a daily schedule you would be seeing is morning meetings as a class, regular scheduled mini lessons with teachers available after the mini lessons to support the work and answer questions in real time. There'll be meaningful activities for kids to practice their concepts and small group instruction to meet individual needs. And instruction, as I said, we really want high quality instruction in all models. So there will be common K-12 instructional expectations for our teachers. We'll have priority standards to be our focus. Instruction will have modeling and feedback. There'll be a lot of opportunities to practice with feedback from the teacher. Ongoing assessment to make sure that kids are meeting the standards and we're able to move on. We also will have small group instruction to differentiate. Google Classroom will be used in all 3 scenarios for consistency. And then interventions and special ed and EL services hopefully will be done during win time if at all possible. And then accelerated math classes in grades 4 and 5 will be offered through clustering students or via distance learning formats. Childcare is another question, and in-person and hybrid learning, it will be after school, and in distance learning, we will have some childcare for essential workers. Now, as I said before, this year we're planning on seeing all of these models, so you might see us pivot throughout the school year based on data. So all of these models provide flexibility and changes throughout the school year. So in all 3 models, you have the same homeroom students and same teacher. In the in-person and hybrid, you have the same health and safety measures. In all 3 models, you have the same standards and instructional practices. In all 3 models, we're using Google Classroom as our same learning platform. And then what will change is the amount of kids that are learning in person or from a distance in these models. So the pivot is really easy, smooth pivot. Now, I want to answer some questions that people have asked. Some people are asking about COVID symptoms. I think we know that those symptoms are cough, shortness of breath, fevers, loss of smell and taste, vomiting, other symptoms like that. And students will be screened by their families, and staff will also screen kids to make sure that they're healthy when they're coming to school. And then what we will do is if there is a case of someone with COVID-19, we work directly with the Minnesota Department of Health on the notification process and recommended course of action. So they determine about the exposure and what are our next steps. The next one are masks and face coverings, and everyone is required to wear them in the building and during bus transportation. I want to give a shout out to the kiddos at MAC that are already practicing and wearing. They're doing an awesome job with their face coverings. So that will be on our supply list, and we want you to help us get kids to practice. So if you can teach kids to be using those appropriately, we will be doing that at school as well. Some other ideas I've seen is anytime a child uses a device at home, get them using a mask to practice for school. Lanyards help with masks as well, so that they keep them and not lose them throughout the day with that as well. So thank you again for practicing in advance with kids to have masks and face coverings to make sure that everyone stayed healthy. The school day, people are wondering, why is that change in the school day? There are a couple reasons. We know elementary students can't typically stay home alone and get themselves off to school. So one of the reasons we made the earlier school day was so parents can drop kids off to school on their way to work. So kids can start coming into the building at 7:30 to 7:45. So that helps with that piece. Also, we have MAC, which is before and after school care. And right now, MAC is in small little groups, just like we're going to be doing in our cohorts here at school. And right now they're using the third grade wing and some other large spaces. So really what this helps us to do is only have the transition from MAC once at the end of the day. So at the end of the school day, MAC kids would be outside in their cohorts while the school is being cleaned. And then they can come in. Otherwise, we would need two cleaning pieces and two transitions with that, which would really be a disruption for our learning. And then again, our childcare, I think I shared with you, will be available at MAC after school during these models of hybrid and face-to-face. Also, our intention is really to align sibling schedules, at least at Wildwood and at OH Anderson, to really support your needs as families in childcare and supporting your child when they're home. Support services and accelerated learning, we want to make sure we're meeting kids' needs where they're at. So we will have small group instruction in reading and math to make sure we're appropriately challenging and supporting our kids. We also will have accelerated math classes in grade 4 and 5, and they will either be through a clustered class or through distance learning format, whether they're in or out of school. And activities, this is the big question. Will the high school league have activities? So that announcement should be coming soon, so watch for that. But as far as community ed, we're planning activities starting to be on our website on the 17th. So look for information on that. And I think those activities will begin in September as well. And school supply list, just kind of take a hold on it. We will be looking at essential school supplies and send you an updated list. So I just wanted to let you know, we did take them off the website at this point, but those will be updated for you as well. And then another question is, can I change from hybrid to distance learning? And we want to make sure that we're providing flexibility to all of you. Remember, everyone has the choice to be part of distance learning. So you just let us know, and we would make sure that your child is supported with that. And then kids during the year, if they want to transition from one model to another, we will communicate with you kind of that process and the time periods when that would happen. We will have kids that are maybe under quarantine because of an exposure. They will be accessing distance learning during that time to continue learning as well. And then the devices. So we are so excited, and I'm so grateful to our district for getting devices for every student. This is a need, and it really helps with our access for all students during this time. So kind of our current plan is, if I'm a Thursday child, what I would do is I'd bring my Chromebook home every Wednesday night so I can access my distance learning on a common device, so we're all on the same page with that. If there are other needs to go home, we would talk through that, but typically the devices will stay at school except for those distance learning days for that. And we are building resources as we go. So look on our website. We have updates there. Our videos of all the schools will be on our website as well. We have a frequently asked questions document. And of course, you can always come to me, email or call, and I would be happy to answer questions as we're developing a safe and strong learning year for your child. I want to take this time to thank you for your continued partnership and support and sharing these wonderful kids with us in Mahtomedi. I'm excited for the school year, and I can't wait to see all of the kids, whether it be face-to-face or virtually. Thank you.